I love sports. And so I would pretend I was in the NBA in this moment where it was like bottom ninth, like really cool, and like play around in my room. I would put like a bucket up in the corner on top of my books and throw this like little soft ball into it, and then pretend there was this game where it's like, oh, once he hit that shot, he runs and does 3 math problems. And like, that's how I motivated myself.
Yeah.
Do you have an example, like a real world one that you do right now for yourself?
I have a basketball net right there. Like, that's what I do right now, right?
What happens when you spend decades medicating and masking ADHD, only to discover everything you believed about yourself was wrong? Ron Capalbo's story starts with a middle school diagnosis buried in shame and ends with him becoming a viral ADHD advocate. But the path between nearly broken. Ron reveals on our show today the hidden cost of using urgency as your only motivation system, while the quote, eat the frog productivity advice is backwards for ADHD brains, and his surprising strategy for making boring tasks exciting using childhood play patterns that actually work for adults too. You're going to hear how panic attacks became his wake-up call after years of trying to quote, try harder, the TikTok video that changed everything, and why he thinks most ADHD advice misses the mark. Plus, Ron's revolutionary approach to radical self-acceptance that doesn't require you to, quote, love everything about yourself. Just laugh at the 3-day-old coffee mug moments. If you're tired of productivity hacks that don't stick or want to turn self-criticism into self-compassion, this episode delivers both the laughs and the tools you need. Welcome, guests, all ADHD adults and those who have an affinity for ADHD adults and adulting. We today are here on the Attention Different podcast and graced with the presence of ADHD Ron. Meet Ron, an ADHD advocate, content creator, and IG and TikTok certified coach, speaker, podcast host, dad, and all-around creative force who spent years masking his diagnosis and struggling with shame until therapy helped him rediscover his ADHD. Embracing his newfound clarity, Ron dove headfirst into coaching, focusing on empowering others through curiosity, knowledge, and collaboration. He's now on a mission to make the world a more inclusive place for ADHDers through his nonprofit, the Monoceros Initiative. Get ready to be inspired by Ron's passion, authenticity, and practical insights on thriving with ADHD. Without further ado, Aaron, take us out of that intro and into some cues.
So how would you identify as ADHD? Do you say I am, I have, I'm a person with ADHD or something else?
So personally, I say I have ADHD. I have an ADHD brain. The way that I kind of look at it is ADHD is a classification of a type of brain. And I know a lot of people don't like, what is that? It's like there's person first language. And I prefer to look at it as something that is me. I identify as an ADHDer, but I think there's some nuance to it too, right? I think really this is kind of what acceptance means to me. ADHD impacts every part of my life. It doesn't define who I am, but it has a lot to do with who I am. And so saying it doesn't, it just acknowledges basically how I think, how I feel. And I think it also steers away from what tends to happen in our community, which is unfortunately a lot of ableism and toxic positivity. This idea that, you know, oh, don't look at your ADHD like that, or don't like use it as an excuse, or don't just look at the positive, like look at the positives, don't look at all the negatives. That kind of thing, I think, really invalidates our experience. Looking at us as a whole and being like, this is the way our brain works, which affects everything we do, I think can have a lot of power. And it gets complicated because it can be hard and it can make people feel shame. But that's where I think the work is done, to remove the shame and kind of accept who you are as a whole.
Right on.
And what was your diagnosis journey? What age were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in middle school. And this was back in the late 90s, mid 90s, something like that. And it's so interesting because at the time, even though when I was diagnosed, ADD wasn't in the DSM, I was diagnosed with ADD, which I know people even today are diagnosed with ADD, that's a whole nother discussion that I can go off on. But my parents presented it to me as it's not as bad as ADHD, which I think is part of the problem too.
Problematic out of the gate.
But don't tell anyone. We're not going to tell the school. We're not going to talk to anybody about it because they're going to take you out of the gifted and talented program. They're going to take you out of advanced classes. You're not going to be able to get into a good college.
Wow. They were that worried about the stigma.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And so we're going to give you this medication. And this, from the conversations I've had with my mom since then, this came from the doctors telling her like, oh yeah, you don't want to, we're just going to give him these meds and he's going to reach his potential and it'll be fine.
Medicate it and forget it, kind of.
Yeah. Now just sit on the tip of my tongue, like the oath, medicate it and forget. Like that feels like the root definition of medicate it and forget it. Like, no, just put meds and he'll work fine. And then let's not talk about
and this, I think it initially, you know, when people first take meds, like things start to change and you're like, oh, there's growth happening. Things are changing. We love this.
Yeah.
The problem was whenever things didn't work out, there was stigma around that. And I wonder if it's too, because this is what my parents were told, like, this is going to fix him. And so let's say I forgot homework. It started to be, you didn't take your meds, did you? Things like that were always a part of my life growing up. I had just moved from New Jersey to Arizona and went from a small school in New Jersey in middle school to a much bigger, like 3 times the size middle school for 8th grade, and then in high school 3 times the size of that. So it was a lot of change and kind of went from, you know, big fish, small pond to like small fish, bigger pond, small fish, huge pond. And there was a lot happening. And at that time in my life too, it was really important for me to make friends, be popular. And so doing well in school kind of took a backseat to everything. And that's when my parents decided, well, the meds aren't just working. There's something else wrong. They took me into a clinic in Arizona where they did neurofeedback. So they hooked me up to, you know, computers and stuff. And I felt like, I mean, at the age of like 12 or 13, you're like, this is like the future.
This is Minority Report. I'm like one of the, I'm a predictive, whatever. Yeah.
But there's also this thing of like, there's something really wrong with me then, right? You know, like you start to think like everybody's going through all of this work and this technology.
Right. They're hooking your brain up to this big machine.
And you're like, I'm fucking broken. Just like, this is
about it this way is like the real pinnacle of like a potential shame, and I'm a broken person. Like look at the lengths that people are going through to figure out what's wrong with me. Ooh, I didn't think about it that way.
And I think so many ADHDers too end up in this boat where many of us are twice exceptional, right? Where we are gifted or in advanced classes or have all this potential that if we just applied ourselves, we'd reach, right?
Yeah.
And so here I am being told like, oh, with your IQ or with how advanced you are, you should be this, and you're not. And so we have to figure out what's wrong. They would hook me up to this thing and I would play this video game with my mind, which was wild too, where you had to control this like plane at a certain level with just like thoughts. And things started to get a little bit better. Based on the studies they've done on neurofeedback, they found that it works like short term. Right. And so it did start working. But then when I stopped, it stopped working. Yeah. And this was just this constant, you know, cycle of I'm doing better. I'm putting in so much extra effort and work, right? So it wasn't just putting in 100%. It was trying to put in extra and more and be perfect. And that would only last so long. It would last till about, 2 months before the end of the semester and I'd fall apart.
Classic.
And by falling apart too, like I ended up graduating with a 3.0.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like not falling apart. Yeah.
Which is falling apart for you. Yeah. Which
exactly. Is like, that's what it always came down to. And so when I went to college, I stopped taking meds. I really struggled in college. I failed out of college after a few years, went to community college, had to go back, ended up taking like 10 or 11 years to finally graduate. And for the longest time, up until about like 5 years ago, it was that feeling of, I'm using this as an excuse. I can do it if I just tried. Because I think too, we see ourselves when we're on our game, nail it. Just be able to handle anything, right? Whether that's hyper focusing at the last second, feeling great one day and just being able to tackle anything. And that becomes our bar of like a standard. Yeah. And that was a cycle that happened to me for 10 to 15 years. And I think it hit a point where age was looking me in the face as like, you should be better by now. right? Like, you should be doing better by now. You should have reached your potential by now. And I just continually put pressure on myself more and more and more until I started having panic attacks and didn't know what they were. And
from all the pressure you were putting on yourself.
yeah. And really up until this point, I didn't even realize I was feeling anxiety. Like, anxiety never clicked in my brain. I was like, I'm not anxious.
You are
ever.
preaching directly to the choir.
Right?
So yeah, going along living with anxiety that you don't realize it is, and then putting so much immense pressure on yourself on top of the pressure already put on you every day for 20, 30 years. Finally, panic attacks arrive.
And ADHDers, what we do oftentimes as by default, right, is we try harder, like you said, and we motivate ourselves from this place of stress, anxiety, the stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, leaving things to the last minute. Like we utilize that as like, well, this is how I motivate myself. But the flip side of that is we have immense amounts of anxiety and stress that we just keep piling on to get ourselves to flip the switch.
And it has diminishing returns too, right? Like the amount of pressure I have to put on myself each time grows to the point where I am just beating the shit out of myself to get one thing done.
And like you said, it doesn't work because at a certain point that stress and anxiety, while at some level it's helpful, once you cross this this threshold, it becomes destructive. It's like you can freeze up,
shut down,
have a panic attack, you shut down, and like your performance is impaired. You brain fog and just there's diminishing returns, like you said. Use like the economic term there.
I've been hearing so many different arguments for tolerancy in different arenas, and this is it. I'm like breaking at this point. We need to have a lecture or a series of educational attempts on like tolerancy across the board. Like, we as ADHDers struggle with tolerancy levels, tolerance of stimulant medication, tolerancy of pumping dopamine through an anxious event or a distressful event. Like, all I'm hearing is like the diminished return is because we develop a tolerancy for this the type of dopamine seeking that we're doing. Like if it's weed, if it's alcohol, if it's nicotine, it can also be, like you guys are describing, stress response. It can be becoming tolerant to invoking your own stress response. You invoke so much of a stress response. It sounds like there's also a line graph there.
Well, I think it's the opposite, Stephen. I mean, it's not a tolerance. I think the tolerance goes down. Like the more we utilize that, the more it just kind of, the stress and the stuff compounds, right? Like the more you can't rely on it anymore. Like, I don't know, for me, I don't know if you experienced this too, Ron, but like for me in my 20s, I could stay up all night, or I could, exist on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, or I could wait till the last minute. But as you age, as you get older, and as you try to utilize that same circuitry over and over in that same way that used to work for you, stops working.
Yeah. Hey, attention different fam, we've got an e-course for you. It's called Thriving with Adult ADHD. If you've ever felt stuck starting tasks, overwhelmed by managing your energy, or unsure how to build routines that actually work, this course is for you. Again, that's Thriving with Adult ADHD. Inside, you'll learn practical strategies to help you focus, strengthen your relationships, and feel more in control of your day-to-day life. With over 2 hours of video lessons and an 80-page workbook, you'll walk away with tools you can use right away to not just survive, but thrive with adult ADHD. Head to attentiondifferent.com now to get started.
There's this thing about what our priority system is, right? Because, and I'm sure if you have ADHD, you've heard that you need to get your priorities straight at some point in your life. And for us, it's nothing that we can decide what it is. It's interest, it's challenge, it's novelty, it's sense of urgency, right? And the sense of urgency, I think, when I look at this as like what our priority levels are, tends to take, center stage. It's the one that works above the other ones, right? It kind of, and I hate to use the T word, but it trumps the other ones. And
You're excused. Yeah.
And I don't think it was designed to be on the same level as the rest of them. I think it was designed as that fail-safe, right? For us, the sense of urgency is that dire need, like that life or death moment.
DEFCON
life
1.
or death moment. Right. And so that was like, okay, we want you to do things that are interesting, challenging, be innovative. Like when our brain developed and it evolved, like that's what it was there for. And what kept it alive was that sense of urgency as the backup plan when we're doing something interesting and there's a lion breathing down your neck. Like you're going to be like, well, hold on 1 second. Let me finish this really cool thing I'm building. It takes control and goes.
Yeah.
When we're put into this position in our society where you have to grow up, it's not about having fun anymore. It's doing what you're supposed to do. It's doing what you're told. It's forcing yourself to do things. That sense of urgency is the only thing that we know to click on. We use it in procrastination. We use it with shame. We use it when I know plenty of ADHDers that like convince themselves things are more important because that's how they motivate themselves. That's how they get it going. That's how they activate their brain. And there's other ways to do it. It's just harder. And people look at you weird when you're like, oh, I have to have fun to do stuff. And it's like, well, you're not supposed to. That's not how it's supposed to work.
That's not being adult. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I love asking clients like what worked for them when they were a kid. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for me, I always go back to I love sports. And so I would pretend I was, you know, in the NBA, or I was pretending that I was like in this moment where it was like bottom line, like really cool, and like play around in my room. And those moments, I would put like a bucket up in the corner on top of my books and throw this like little soft ball into it and like do it, and then pretend there was this game where it's like, oh, once he hit that shot, he runs and does 3 math problems, and like that's how I motivated myself.
Yeah.
And when I ask people this type of question, they come up with stuff like that, or something fun, or something that they're a little embarrassed about because they're adults now or whatever, right? And
Give us an example. Yeah. Do you have an example, like a real world one that you do right now for yourself?
Or my client unnamed here once told me this hilarious, cute thing.
I have a basketball net right there. Like that's what I do right now, right? Like if I'm struggling to motivate myself, I stop and pretend I'm doing that. Like I'll bring up the guitar and actually imagine and picture that I'm performing in front of like this huge crowd or this, you know, massive audience, and I'm like the most famous musician in the world and I have to perform this thing, but I first have to get this one thing done before I go on in 20 minutes. And like doing things like that is way more fun, right? I use my imagination. I actually put myself in those moments. I utilize the fact that our brain, you know, I think it was Russell Barkley who said, I could be wrong, it could be Dodson, but that we're just a bunch of like heads floating around. Like we have such a hard time being present in our bodies, but you know, I daydream, but I use the daydream to work, if that makes sense.
You leverage that,
and that's way more fun. Like I think I daydream and doze off and think about random shit because it's more fun and interesting than what I actually have to do.
Totally.
So if I can combine the two things, I can get some stuff done.
Yeah, I love that as like a tactic and a strategy for adults with ADHD is to utilize their own imagination and creativity as a source of motivation. And it seems like on that train, it's like you mentioned earlier that you kind of have to build this momentum. We have to build it. It's the longer on ramp to get into it. So anything that we do that can help us kind of create situations that we're getting things done. Maybe it's some smaller, lower hanging fruit. Maybe it's some easy tasks. Maybe it's some adjacent kind of things that we work on. Or it's like we're doing stuff that excites our brain, right? Gives us some stimulation. And I really like that idea of like, you know, utilizing the creative, you know, mind wandering and stuff, but flipping that and making that a positive thing and without shame. That's amazing.
You've heard like the productivity slogan of like eat the frog.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're mentioning work.
Yeah. No, we have to eat the cake first.
Yeah. Eat the cake.
And it really is like what gets us going. A lot of times when I talk with parents, I tell them, you know, the worst thing is when you get your kids up and you just send them to school and they're doing boring, dumb stuff that they don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Usually kids with ADHD struggle in like the first period of the day. And so getting them up and doing something activating that they enjoy,
Yeah.
is really beneficial. So if you have a kid that likes sports, being able to talk to them about sports in the morning, or have them read the sports section, or, you know, you've got a kid that likes puzzles, doing crosswords with them. Nothing that's like, it's not like throw them in front of a video game for a half hour, 45 minutes. Not that video games are bad, but to start your day off with something that is maybe not super exciting. You're not
Right.
like taking them to an amusement park, like right off the bat, but like something that can get them going. You can, please.
Look, in my high school experience, it was as dumb as donut holes. It was my mom and a group of other moms okayed the carpool of nerdy boys who would show up before 7 because we were the nerdy boys. We had extracurriculars and sports and all that. But to get my ADHD young ass out of bed, I knew that it was my turn to carpool Logan and Russell and whatever, and we would have to go to Sun Donuts and pick up donut holes. Then we go and we do like a little bit of homework that was left over from the night before, like study really, more for a quiz. But that truly, we're talking 30 to 45 minutes of extra time, right? That would get me to school an hour before the class, right? But because I'm sitting there with Logan, I'm sitting there with my friends, and we're having donut holes and we're studying biology, or whatever, right? It wasn't an over the top thing. It wasn't you get to go to Six Flags. It was just, you can go with your guy friends to donut holes, to Sun Donuts, if you wake up early enough. Like, we endorse this. Go ahead, kids.
That's awesome.
Find what's motivating for you, right? Like you said, it has to be customized to the individual. And so for Steven, it might be donut holes is the thing that's motivating, but for someone else, it might be as simple as, I get to pick a song in the car or something like that.
Yeah. You get to play, car DJ. That's a good one.
No, it's something exciting. It's something that you look forward to, and thrusting us into a situation that we don't want to be in, like school sometimes. And sometimes it's not the case, right? There's kids that like absolutely are so excited to go to school. I was not one of them. But some people are really excited to go to work, and there are times that I'm really excited to go to work too, right? But there's things that I have to do. I don't know of a single job that doesn't involve something that you don't enjoy. And so when you have to do something you don't enjoy, be graceful with yourself about it. I did a video once about being like the cool boss. It's how do you get your brain, who's your employee, to work for you, to want to work for you, not just to work for you when you're watching over it or you're making sure that it's doing something. Because if you force your employee to do something, sure, they might do it, but it's going to take them a little bit longer. It's not going to be as great. But if you've got someone that's like, nah, I need to show up for this dude. This guy hooks me up. He,
I love this.
Brings in donuts in the morning. He gives me like a half day on Fridays. All that stuff is important to take care of your body and brain. Like, those are your employees. So like hook them up and they'll hook you up.
I love this.
Speaking of loving what you do and the work that you do, how did you get into doing ADHD coaching? What brought you into this work?
TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. It was the beginning of the pandemic. My wife is an actor, dancer, all around funny person, and was obsessed with TikTok. And so I would watch videos with her. We do the thing where you send each other videos and then at night you get together and watch them. Mm-hmm. And she would make TikToks and try her damnedest to be funny and to get a following and go viral. And for her, it was just more having fun doing it. And I started finding some people on ADHD TikTok, namely Danny Donovan, Katiosaurus, people like that really inspired me that was right around when I was going to therapy, to look into how my ADHD was affecting my entire life. It was something that I thought of at the time, a small part of me, right? So I wanted to ignore that part. The problem is it was everywhere, so I couldn't ignore it. And so I started to talk about my experience with ADHD. And after a few videos, a couple of them did pretty well. And I was getting a lot of feedback from people thanking me, messages that were bringing me to tears. And just, I'd never felt like anything I did in my life was that important. And so to feel that, like, I made a difference because I was willing to tell somebody that I struggle to brush my teeth twice a day, or that I forget shit all the time, or, that I have a lot of shame around being able to pay a bill on time, and then even knowing that the bill is late, I still struggle to pay. Like constantly having those things happen and people just saying thank you. Mom saying like thank you, like I see my son in you, and it just makes me feel hope, and it made me feel like I had a purpose all of a sudden. And at the time I was doing really well in my career. I was in real estate and making good money, but was miserable. I enjoyed the people aspect of it, but I just didn't feel like I was doing what I did when I made a TikTok video. And I was like, well, then this has to change. I have to be a part of this community. I didn't want to just be someone that was, oh, I'm a white dude telling you what to think. And so I was like, I need some validity in what I'm saying and not just be my experience. And so I went to ADCA. I originally just wanted to take the first class. I wasn't sure that I wanted to be a coach. And so I took the first class and just kept going.
And ADCA is, just for our listeners, is a coach training organization that trains ADHD coaches. So
big shout out to David Gwerk, founder of that, and friend of the pod. I gotta remember, friend of the pod, David Gwerk.
Yeah, it's so interesting because when I first did it, I was nervous that I was not going to finish. Right, like it took me 11 years to graduate college, and
right.
To just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to take 3 classes.
It's a lot. It's a lot for our listeners. It's like 7-8 months worth of stuff, right?
And like a lot of stuff, and to have to do, oh man, the administrative part. I had to have my mentor sit with me to like turn in the paperwork, right?
You had to literally body double with your mentor
just to like submit shit, right? And so
that was Aaron for me, Ron. You were not Aaron. Aaron already had his licensure, had done the masters, and gotten his LCSW. I mean, he was a trailblazer for me. And ditto, I had to call Aaron and be like, I have to do paid coaching hours. How do I set this?
I don't know how to do that.
Just get through it. Keep grit. Yeah.
It was a lot of really, trying to change what the end goal was. I have a lot of goals in my life, and when I just look at the end goal, I get overwhelmed or it feels too far away. And so being able to change it to something right in front of me was important. And so what I did the entire time was every time I learned something in class, I made a video about it and I posted it. And I started to use my creativity. And so while I'm in class, I'm coming up with ideas for how to make this like a fun TikTok or an informational TikTok. And then I started being like, I'm going to do trends with this and put an ADHD twist. And I was just having a lot of fun doing it and using the class as like, okay, I need to go to class so I can make this TikTok next week, right? And that was really helping me too.
I love that. That's an amazing strategy. So again, you brought in your creativity, and that helped you to just be motivated. Like, because as Stephen can attest to, I'm sure, while we love ADCA, some of their stuff can be a little bit,
100%.
right? Like it's like, it's
they're inviting everyone in the room from the very, very beginner. Sure. Like I didn't know that ADHD was a thing. I've been in AA my whole life. They're bringing in the beginner all the way up to somebody who's like got their PhD and this, that, and the third, and they're trying to add on ADHD coaching credential, right? So
so you can be listening to someone asking questions, and then
very 101,
right? And you're like, okay, I know the story. Let's get on to the other thing. And
like there's a day, right? And you're like, wow, the thing they're talking about, I know front to back. Like that's something I'm very informed on. Like, man, so hard to sit there. But if I'm sitting there trying to listen for something to like inspire a TikTok, it makes it a lot easier. And I think the goal for ADHDers should be to learn yourself. You need to think of yourself as a computer that doesn't have an instruction manual, and you're like, all right, I want to see how this thing works, right? And really get curious about all the little things that make it tick. Not being pissed that your computer doesn't work this way, but learning how it works so you can be like, all right, this is what makes that part work, or this is what makes that part go. And it's a long and tedious process, right? And so for me, what I learned during ADCA that really unlocked a lot and really helped me over the last couple of years is that I love to teach things. The way that I learn is by explaining it to other people, right? So as a verbal processor, I love to gather information and put my twist and perspective on it and tell people about it. Like, that's my favorite thing. And so if I want to learn more, I've got to also teach more. And so creating things, whether it's creating a class, starting ADHD groups, making videos, that's what moves me forward in my career. It's not this want to get to a certain point in my career, but it's like finding the thing right now that gets my motor going and using that to get where I need to go.
That just that immediate motivation, that immediate thing, but it is in service of the longer term goal. But you're not concerning yourself with that. You're not like overwhelming yourself with that big picture thing. But you're saying, what's going to motivate me right now?
I do want to go ahead and be vulnerable for a second and say that there are moments where I do concern myself with the big thing, and I shut down for a week, and I have no idea why. Right, where I stopped doing that thing.
Yeah,
can you relate to that, Stephen? I feel like Stephen went through one of these just recently.
I'm like, Aaron, I've been holding. You have no idea the amount of Herculean effort it's been to keep my mouth shut because Ron is my long lost brother. Yeah, we separated at birth in this regard. Yeah, of course.
He's your twin here. Yeah, it's like
I try to be vulnerable as much as I can with my clients.
Yeah,
online. You know, as much as I don't want to sit here and shit on people that don't do this, I'm going to, because no one has cured their ADHD. No one has figured out the secret sauce. We're not going to. We have to constantly evolve and realize that, like, I may have a moment where everything's clicking. I figured it out. But I have to be constantly on top of that. And I can't do, that's what I can't do, right? I can't check in with myself every hour and make sure that what I've implemented to keep myself on task is still going. I can try to do that, but it might work today. It might work tomorrow. The day after, oh, I didn't get as much done. That's okay. You know, I got a little, and then a week later, I'm lost again. And so that's why I do try to check in. I have like check-ins weekly with myself to see where I'm at, what I need to do. And those get missed too, right? That's not perfect. And whenever I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, nothing's working. I don't feel like doing anything. It's been like this for a week. I'm, shitting on myself about everything. I stop and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not doing any of the things that work for me, right? I forgot those things. I go back into the same old groove. And the goal is not to never go back there. The goal is to shorten those periods and make them less often.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Aaron and I talk about
bounce
the recovery.
back.
Yep. Bounce back and recovery. In fact, it was one of our next questions. We're just like trailblazing through the questions that we had set up for you, which is good. It's good. But that was one is recovery period. And Aaron and I feel very blessed and grateful for the amount of conversation Aaron and I have had over recovery time over the last 2 years, because we're starting a company. We launched a company. All the cliches are true. For the listeners, by the way, cliches, we hate them when we're teenagers in our early 20s. We are novelty obsessed, and cliches are gross and dumb and ugly and stupid. And I've found that in my 30s and above, cliches are absolutely life-saving and sanity-saving and make me feel like many people have come before me and had this suffering, so I must be okay. So like we've had every cliche you can imagine launching a company, and the sheer hours, the hundreds, if not thousands of hours that Aaron and I have spent talking about, okay, that burnout happened. You hit that wall. That thing, we could have been better in this way. We could have said out of office a little earlier. We could have had some foresight, but we're there now. We're already at the bottoming out. What are we doing to bounce back? Like, do you need a day? Do we need to go, like, is Steven need a gym day? Does Aaron need to take a Frida day? That's his dog, just a day with the dog. Like, what is our recovery look like is more is the paramount conversation. That's the more prioritized conversation than the, oh, what happened? Oh, are we doing, like, what are we doing way too much of whatever? That self-reflection analysis will come, but our discussion and emphasis on recovery, on getting back to an energy stability and getting back to a place of like oxygen mask on ourselves has been life and sanity saving again for me in these last 2 years. Is that we're talking way more about, okay, but you recovered. How did we recover? What was that recovery time? What was the
What did I do last time that was working? Or what was I doing before I fell off that was helpful? even if it wasn't 100%, because right, we get into this all or nothing mindset with ADHD brains. There was like, either I'm doing this 110% and it's working all the time, or nothing. I fell off and it's not happening at all, right?
Yeah, done. Oh my God. Yeah. It's so the catastrophizing thing, y'all. Like catastrophizing. It's just full 360 your whole life. If you're not winning, if you're winning, you're winning you're the most winning you've ever been, and it's euphoria. And if you're losing, it's because you never were going to win. You're a broken person, and how dare you have the audacity to consider yourself a capable person, even for a second. It's so extreme, the catastrophizing, when things don't go the way we planned them, or if something stops working all of a sudden. Which, yeah, if that inspired a thought, please.
A bunch of stuff, and it keeps coming back to the same thought, and I want to piggyback off of your cliches thing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So often I think we have to take the cliches and really deep dive into what they mean sometimes, because we throw them away so often. But the cliche that success is not a straight line is so much bigger than just the idea of like, oh, you may take a step back and then 2 steps forward, because we still feel like at the end of the day, we should be somewhere. And if we ever get back to where we started, it feels like that entire mountain that we climbed was worthless.
Like the progress was erased. All of that work.
And, when you feel like you're back where you were, and you remember how it felt to be where you were, you don't realize that, like, still to get where you want to go, you had to come back. Like,
yes,
it's that kind of thing, right? I tried to explain this to somebody once as like the rabbit in the hare, or sorry, the tortoise in the hare, the rabbit.
Yeah.
The tortoise and the hare, where it's like, we're the hare, and it really sucks that it's looked on so poorly to be the hare, but we'll like run somewhere and we're so far ahead, and then we need to take a snack break, and then we're going to go talk to our friends, and then we're going to take a nap, and then we're going to go do this. And then we start running and we're like, oh shit, we're running the wrong way. We're back at the start again. And it's like, it's okay, because we're going to easily catch up. And then we're constantly doing this thing.
Totally got this. Totally. Yeah.
But we're back and forth and we're all over the place, but we need those things. Like, that's our path. And we say straight line, but I think of it as like linear and moving forward instead of just like time moving through us. So I like to think of like, we don't move, like the situation just comes to us. And so we're going to have to go back to the beginning, because now is an opportunity to see how my experience over the last, let's say it's 6 months, all of a sudden I feel like I'm back at the beginning again, or I haven't made progress. You're like, great, well, that's 6 months. How am I going to attack it this time differently? Because I look at it as this maze that I hit a dead end, and now I'm back at the beginning, but I have more knowledge and I have more experience. And so now what am I doing next?
In Buddhism, there's this whole mindset philosophy around beginner's mind. And no matter how much progress or how much knowledge or how much you've been a master and have meditated for X number of hours or whatever it is, right? There's this idea and this concept, which I really like, and I think it can carry over to ADHD and our mindsets here about how to treat ourselves, is if you approach things with curiosity and with a sense of, I'm still at the beginning, I'm still figuring this out, I'm still a beginner, right? We approach it with this attitude that lets go of so much of the judgment and shame and guilt for all the things that we have built up in our head of where we should be and where we're failing, or where, all the things that didn't work, or I should have done this earlier, all that stuff. It's all a construction in our mind. And if we can just come back to this place of, all right, I'm here. Today's the day. Like I'm back to today. Like today's a new day. Like, but you still have, no one can take away from you your lived in experience. Even though it may feel like I haven't learned anything because I'm back here, I don't know anything at all. It's like, no. You know way more than you're giving yourself credit for right now. You're just in this emotional place. That lived in experience, it's still there. We can still draw upon that. So let's just begin again. Start again.
You have to be good where you are too. There's people come to coaching and they want to get somewhere. And I want to help them get there. But usually we also have the conversation of how can we feel what we're longing to feel by reaching some kind of success or goal? How can we feel that right now? Right? What does that feel like right now? Because
that makes me want to cry.
If we go back to the starting point, right? Like, let's say I feel like I'm back at the beginning and I fail, right? What I think we're the most upset about is that we're back in the place that we did not like being.
Right.
I mean, this goes into why I work so much with people about really loving who they are, right? But we do a lot of we do this thing called an elevator pitch I do with my clients where we talk about who we are and why we're awesome. And if you wanted to pitch somebody on, why I'm a great friend or why I'm an awesome person or what makes me me, give me 10 to 15 second pitch and do it. And we work on our elevator pitches. And that can't be taken away from you. That's nothing that's goal focused, right? That's just I'm someone that uses their kindness to see the good in people. I use perspective to help others find their way and things like that, right? I can understand how people work, so that helps me find the good in every situation, whatever it is. And those things are not things that you need to attain. Those are just your innate strengths and who you are. And being able to be comfortable with that is really hard for us, right? Saying good things about ourselves is hard.
Yeah.
And so to be here and say, maybe I'm starting my coaching certification and I dropped out of the class. Now I can look at failures. I can say, well, I didn't get that thing. And it's yeah, but I am this person who is awesome because of these things. Without a certification, without a promotion, without a big house, without whatever it is that I really want, I'm still fantastic right here. So if I ever have to come back to the start, I'm okay with it.
Yes.
The reason why I was almost moved, almost got me. The reason why I was moved almost to the single tier is that I'm that client that you're describing. Every therapist or mentor I've had has dealt with
I'm not enough, right?
I'm not enough. I remember the moment with my therapist, Max, shout out to Max and Angel, when I said that I am not enough moment, you know what I mean? The Goodwill Hunting moment, it comes out of you like almost a demon coming out of you and releasing, sobbing. I am not enough. I hate where I'm at. I can't stand this, that, and the third about me, right? Who wrote that narrative? Who wrote it? Where did you learn that, right? I want to wrap all this up in radical acceptance because we're reaching it, right? Ron said, so much of my practice is asking people, well, that thing that you're trying to reach for or strive for, it comes with a feeling. It comes with a sense of self. How could we get that right now? How could we get that feeling right now? That would have broken me down, homie, on session 1. That would have had me crying and being like, oh, fuck, that is the question. Why? That goes to the root of self-flagellation and beating on myself. And it's oh, wow, I really have been shitting on radical acceptance and not even thinking about it, in automatic mode, in cruise control, right? I've been in cruise control of self-flagellation, of beating myself up and not even realizing it takes mentors and friends and loved ones to kind of remind us of it. So I want to honor that on top of the other things we've spoken about this episode, which is, you brought up early days, the toxic positivity. Aaron and I are in the same category. We're trying to avoid superpower rhetoric and narrative. And the reasons for that we've just described at length, right? We are individuals who beat on ourselves more than anybody could. Secondarily, we may get really good at something and on a Thursday it'll stop working. And then it may never work again, right? That's insane. That's an insane life to live in. We might get genuinely master level good at something and on a Thursday it stops working. And we have to figure out everything else again. You add on parenting, child rearing, school, grad school, a job, everything on top of that. Wow, the amount of distress that an ADHDer must feel as an adult, right? And then bringing it all the way back, we also ask so much of ourselves. We ask more of ourselves than anyone else is probably asking of ourselves. And we forget that we're doing it. And somehow that voice becomes another non-schizophrenic, but another character in our brain that's but you could be doing X. You could be doing Y. I mean, if you really just cut this out, or if you did this, or if you tweak that, you'd be the next Lance Burton. You know what I mean? You'd be in Vegas with your new magic show. Why didn't you do that extra class or that extra whatever? So this shitstorm emotionally and psychologically is going on all the fucking time. And when a coach or a mentor, when a Ron or an Aaron or a Max asks me that question, well, how can we get a slice of that? Or how can we make ourselves feel like that right now? What's missing from right now? That's a radical acceptance-based approach. That's the radical acceptance narrative for me, at least. It's hey, you are naturally wired to have your brain in the past, present, and future at all times and constantly trying to balance all and spilling these plates, and you're beating yourself up. You're doing it more than the other people doing it. You don't even realize you're doing it. That's how much it's programmed. Pause, take a moment, accept the now. Accept what is your productivity level today. Accept what is your energy level today. I have a friend who texts me, I have no bones today. And we'll send a GIF of like the
I
pug that
love the bones thing. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, and that there's a GIF that suddenly comes into my phone of someone lifting their pug and the pug just falls over. Like, I've got no bones today. And that's my chronic fatigue friend saying, I don't think our date's going to happen tonight. Right. Because I'm waking up at 8 a.m. and I have no bones. What's the radical acceptance version of that for us? Waking up and going, I have no bones today. I'm waking up being like, you know what? I had a to-do list made and I'm checking my energy in the mirror right now. And that to-do list ain't happening. That level of self-love and self-compassion and grace, it seems so attainable me talking about it here. But I have the opportunity now to be vulnerable and tell our listeners, I absolutely do not succeed in that arena every day. I don't. Yes, that feeling is real. Yes, you feel like you can't escape this self-flagellation, this self-deprecation, but also this other thing though. But also you're really great. Also this elevator pitch. Remember those things that make you so special and wonderful right now. Don't go home and write it down. Do it right now in front of me. Say it, own it. You earned it, so own it. And anyway, I wanted to soapbox a bit because that's my experience is all wrapped in there, Ron. It's all wrapped in there. This radical acceptance thing that Aaron and I are preaching about. It's still bewildering to me how much I beat myself up, how much self-loathing and hatred I carry around. It's still fascinating to me.
What would you like if Steven was your client, let's say, right? Yeah. What would you say to Steven to help him get to that place where he is more accepting?
I think the things that I would talk to him about and ask about first is I get a lot of information from knowing what people's aspirations and goals and dreams are and working backwards from it. And so for me, I can tell Steven, like myself, as someone that yearns for progress. I'm also somebody that wants to win therapy. How do I fix myself quicker than anyone else? Like, how do I get to the end? I always want to get to the end. I want to get to the part that I want.
Yeah.
So even this part to say like, oh, cool. Okay. I'm going to get to the self-acceptance right now. Like, how do we do that? How do we get there so that I can get back to the thing that I'm trying to do? And it's why there's this really fun dance that I think I have to do as a coach, right? Because no one's going to come to me, and maybe Steven will, in the first time we talk about it, him going, wow, I don't need to achieve things. I need to sit here and we need to work on stuff. But most of the time, people want to achieve something. And so after one session or two sessions, if I'm just sitting there selling them on like, hey, we have to stop here for a second. We have to work on ourselves. We have to, release some of the shame. We have to go into this radical self-acceptance thing. They're going to bounce. They're going to be like, no, I have to do this thing. Like this is first and foremost. And so I think it has to happen simultaneously. We have to get some wins while we're doing this. We kind of uncover this. We did this all at once on this, on this episode where we're just like, how do we get this self-acceptance? But people don't come looking for that. They come looking for the results. And so for me, normally what I would do is how do we get a result while also making them move a little bit further in this self-acceptance, maybe secretly, because that ends up what has to happen. No one wants to go to a coach and have them really get deep and uncover some shit that they are uncomfortable uncovering. This part of ADHD is the shit that we've been stuffing in a room and shutting the door in for years. And it is not fun to go in there. It doesn't matter even if you have somebody to do it with. There's a ton of shame. There's a lot of things you don't want to think about and feel.
Yep.
We typically don't avoid tasks. We avoid how the tasks make us feel. And so the thought of bringing up this shit scares us to where we're going to avoid it. And so if I start off a session and we start going like, great, let's uncover this shit. Some of us might be ready. Right. Some of us might be like, I know it's painful, but I know how good it feels because I've done it before. Right. People that have been in therapy for a while, typically we move a little quicker through this because they're like, all right, I'm going to cry and it's going to be awesome later. But right now I'm going to hate it and let's go. Right. And but a lot of it does come with bringing down walls. There needs to be a lot of trust. There needs to be a lot of understanding. I think as a coach, this is part of the reason why vulnerability is so important. If I show myself as someone that's got it all figured out, you're going to feel less than. And I never want you to feel that. So I'm going to talk about the shit that I struggle with today. And some of it's embarrassing. And that's just what we're going to do. And we're going to talk about it. And we're going to come up with a way that works a little bit for you. We're going to untangle the mess in your brain and we're going to see what we get out of it. We're going to figure out how you work and we're going to go from there. But I already feel like I know how Stephen works. I mean, from one night of karaoke and an hour here where, like he said, we're long lost brothers.
We did karaoke.
All right, there we go.
That answer is wonderful, and
it's just complicated, right? This idea of like,
you carry it well. Yeah, but you carry it well. Yeah, there's nuance to it. But while you were speaking, I was hearing the wisdoms and the experience of Aaron, who I've watched do the same thing. Right, Aaron is a champion of vulnerability and equals courage. Right, and I have been there when Aaron has said, "Well, look, this thing and this thing about me." Some of those moving text messages I've received from Aaron are when I know he's using his coaching voice. Right, when he's like tapping into his coach. Aaron, and he'll send back the most loving, compassionate, radical acceptance based message in a single text that like accomplishes the, hey, you forgive yourself, you're a great person for this reason. And there was this one time that I struggled with this exact same thing in this way. And I felt this level of shame. And like, I see you, brother. Like those messages I would print and frame. And they're not even that long, but they nail this thing that you both do.
I actually have a question for Aaron here because I think this is in my, maybe for both of you, actually. As a coach, and I think I was kind of touching on this, one of the hardest things to see is when people come with these goals of where they need to be. Sometimes they're put on them by other people, whether it's a spouse or a partner or a parent or your boss. And maybe it's the way that I look at the world, but I see the pressure along with the goal. There needs to be a lot of work done to change the way the pressure is put on them, right? Because a lot of times it's shame. And trying to work simultaneously with that and removing the shame, I think is one of the hardest things to do, because every time you move forward, while there's still shame involved with it, like the shame gets stronger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And it's like having to convince people that like, hey, I want you to get there. And I think you can, but this is step one. And you might not be happy with the fact that step one is going to feel like you haven't moved.
What I do is I focus on the language oftentimes, how they are talking to themselves and how they're discussing the problem, right? What's the words that they're using to themselves, to others, how they're describing things. Because a lot of times what they'll say, oh, I should have done this, right? I pay attention, should. Judgmental. It's a judgmental statement. Why didn't I just, why? Anytime I hear why, it's like judgment. Again, self-judgment, shame, guilt, right? And what I try to do is unpack that, help people recognize, hey, wait, pause there for a second. Like when you said that to yourself, right? Like, can we come at that a little differently? Can we reframe that? Can we rephrase that in a different way? Can we replace some of that language that's so shame and judgmental based with something else? And a lot of times it's like they're looking for stuff to do. Well, what do I do? What do I do? Well, it's like, no, it's like half the time it's not about doing something different. It's about how you're talking yourself into or out of the thing, because you already know what to do, right? It's there's a problem of, well, why am I not doing it?
Where's the button?
Yeah.
I've said to people like, oh, you have to hit up, down, down, left, right.
Yes.
Like,
what's the cheat code?
Yeah. You haven't gotten the combo breakers yet? I mean, listen, I know the X button, the toggle.
And we can move from I can't to I can. We can move from why, what's wrong with me, to what did I do that did work somewhat? What can I do differently?
There's the somewhat. That's somewhat so big, man, right? There's the whole like all or nothing. I try to help people visualize it. We always do scales 1 to 10, right? Of just like, where are you now, right? And because what you're asking for is a 10. So what, you think you're a 2? Okay, great. What does a 3 look like? And how do we get to a 3? And usually when you ask them that, they still give you like a 6. And you're like, nah, even simpler, dude, right? Like, how do we open up the email? Like, we don't even have to do anything else. Just how do you open it up? Oh, I can do that. Oh, look, did it. That's a 3. Yeah. You haven't been there before. You've never opened it up. That's crazy. Like, and they were like, that's stupid. I'm like, no, but you've never done that. And you just did it. Like,
it's powerful.
Sometimes the humor of it and laughing about how, wow, I'm looking at the entire process and it's overwhelming, so I'm not starting. But like, oh yeah, opening up a web browser, like, okay, there, I did it. And it's like, cool. You now have less to do. And it's like, oh shit.
Dude, because Aaron's laughing.
Yeah.
Do y'all? I feel like both of y'all laugh with your clients. I feel like there's a healthy amount of laughter in the room. Yeah.
Oh, we have to learn to laugh at ourselves. We have to learn to inject humor. It is an anecdote to shame. Like when we're feeling so bad about, oh crap, I didn't do the thing and I'm so terrible. It's like, can we laugh at it? Can we look at how ridiculous? Like we were watching one of your videos, like Stephen shared it again because we've seen it before, but we looked at it again. It was you panning around your office and showing, what's underneath the screen, right?
Yeah.
And it was so hilarious because we both have the same types of offices, right?
Oh yeah.
I drank out of a 3-day-old coffee mug because I thought it was the one from this morning today. And like, that's not the first time that's happened. And like, that's what my life is like, right?
If we can find the humor in those day-to-day things faster, I know it can be challenging, right? Like to laugh at ourselves in the moment or to think, man, this is going to make a great story. When I relay this story to my friends, my family, my partner, whoever, and I'm saying, oh my gosh, I just drank the 3-day-old coffee. Like, it's amazing. It's like
that's social currency. It's a story that makes people laugh.
It's the truth. It's the authentic stuff that's happening. And can we just laugh at ourselves, find the humor in it right now, and move on?
I think it takes away for me, and it may be why I use humor, but I always like to find out from people what emotion they subconsciously avoid the most. And for me, it's embarrassment. I don't like to be embarrassed. I can pinpoint the times that I've been extremely embarrassed in my life. And those moments have stacked up as, had to work through them through therapy, but like, whether that be incompetence, thinking something was true for the longest time, finding out it wasn't. Kind of being the one person in the room that didn't know something was going to happen, right? Those moments just gut me. And thinking about them, I like feel it, and it's so uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And what I think humor does for me, it's really when the thing you're ashamed of comes to fruition, right? The fact that I'm a little messy. And so, of course, I don't take my cups down and then I just drank like 3-day-old coffee. If there's people around me, there's a chance that people are like, wow, dude, it's because you're such a fucking mess, right? Like it's the shame things that come up. But if I'm able to laugh about it and control that, then I get to avoid that embarrassment. It's not great to just avoid it, but I think that's why I use humor so much. It alleviates the embarrassment, right?
But the nuance there is you're confronting the embarrassment by and moving through it. And if you're defanging it, you're taking
I'm taking control of it, right?
Well, if I can laugh at this, if I can show this, right?
Well, it's how I started with TikToks, right? I don't brush my teeth. Well, I try to brush my teeth twice a day, but there's times I don't, or there's times that, oh shit, I haven't paid this bill, and I think about it and I still haven't, and now I'm avoiding it, and now it's going into collections, and I'm like, well, I'm going to go pay it and I'm going to do a video about it because it actually is doing something. I'm taking this kind of action.
Yes.
My favorite video that I never posted because it was too much editing was I stopped going to the gym because I hurt my ankle, and it was like 6 months. And I was like, all right, I need to start going back. And that's all I said to myself. So then for another month, I didn't, right? Because I didn't like come up with a plan. And then my plan was, I'm going to make a video about how hard this has been. And the end of it has to be me going to the gym because that's like the process. And in that moment, I went to the gym. Like that day I went to the gym because I did a video showing like how difficult it was for me, how I was going to start, how I had to unfreeze my account, which was embarrassing for some reason to me, to like go in there and not know if they're going to be like, oh, you haven't been here in 6 months. I don't know why I thought that was embarrassing, but I did. And so I had to go through this extra process to do it. But it's finding a way to alleviate the embarrassment. It's making it your own, taking control of it and doing something that makes it funny or entertaining or whatever.
I want to endorse what Aaron said before he expertly pivots us to our wrap up. But I think it's so important that you jumped in, Aaron, and said, no, That is not avoidance, right?
Thank
Because
you.
that would no, truly, because that would upend an entire bit of education I received from my mother at the age of 12 about learning to laugh at yourself and how empowering that is. Because there is a difference between avoiding something by casting it aside or making it flippant or throw away. Oh, that's just blah, blah, blah.
You're putting like a pillow under yourself when you fall, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, like there's a difference between avoidance or disassociation from and pointing to something and going, "Yep, it me. Yep, it me. I'm gonna make funny that. Yes, it me. That's radical acceptance, actually.
For sure.
I just drank out of a 3-day old coffee mug. You know why? Because I have this intense fear of embarrassment that prevents me from bringing my coffee mugs downstairs, and it's horrifying, and I hate it, and it makes me want to puke. That's not avoidance. That's earnest. That's genteel. That's authentic. Yeah, I think you're being your authentic self and loving. I guess what we're saying is laughter equals love. If we can laugh at ourselves, then we love ourselves. Pretty intense statement. But I think if you can laugh at yourself, you love yourself in that situation. You're not avoiding it.
I dig.
Yeah, that emotion or that thing that you fear the most is the very thing that if you practice moving closer to that in your life, if you do more of that, put yourself into those situations, that's what's going to help you immensely to work on letting it not be the thing that continues to get in the way. Because if you know it's getting in the way, how do we approach that more and do that thing even more?
Embrace the discomfort. Drink the poison.
Embrace the discomfort. Exactly. Yeah. So I think those are excellent takeaways. I love all the stuff we kind of got into today, and I know we could go on for another 2 hours.
I mean, we got at the very end, Aaron. We got to the okay, coaches, start talking about the practice. Yeah, you guys could do a whole show.
We will have Ron back. We will be talking. There's going to be more. There has to be more. So to wrap out, I just wanted to give our audience where they can find you. If they want to work with you, if they want to get coaching from you, they want to check out your videos and your inspirational and authentic self on all of the social media. Give the audience your pluggables, your handles.
Yeah. My website's ADHDcoachron.com. On Instagram, ADHD_Ron. That's where you're going to find all of my content. You can also go check out my nonprofit, TMIADHD.com. It's the Monoceros Initiative. So Monoceros like rhinoceros, but with an M.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I've got going on right now. I have so many things that I wish I could plug, right? That I'm getting to it this year. But again, first time dad.
You have a retreat, I think, coming up soon.
Yeah, we're going. So with the Monoceros Initiative, we do a lot of stuff for coaches. We kind of look at it as when you take a look at the ADHD kind of landscape of professionals, I think there are a lot of coaches that have great information, can do great things, but just don't have the resources and finances to be able to do it. And so our goal is to help that part of the community out so that they can help others. A lot of coaches that come from kind of lesser privileged communities and cultures end up having to serve those communities with free coaching, scholarships, things like that they can't give themselves because they don't have the money to do it. So we're trying to find ways to do that. So a lot of, our donations go towards helping those coaches, helping them come to the retreats that we're doing. And so we have a retreat in a couple weeks. We're going on a cruise, and this will be our 4th ADHD collaboration cruise. We're stoked about that. And I'm sure we'll do many more of those. And then we also do some virtual events and want to continue that as well.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us today.
It's a blast, guys.
This was fun. Yeah. I feel like it's a good time because an hour and 17 minutes went by in a blink, and I right by. Yeah,
We'll see you hopefully sooner, but definitely
in Kansas City, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Kansas City, and we'll have to get together for some karaoke again. That was fun,
guys.
And you can watch Steven come out of his shell again and become the performer.
Oh, it was great.
He is.
It was a blast.
Yeah, this time I'll have a voice because we won't be boothing all weekend.
It was our first time tabling, and we both were losing our voice by the end. It was just like,
oh yeah.
It's just, I feel like we should do that night before the last night because I was so burnt. by the end of it.
I know our energy.
We were, half the room was just lying on each other. I mean, not my body, but half of the night was just us lounging on one another and being like, "Are you exhausted and near death?" Yes, I am. Would you like to take this mic and sing a song now in front of people? Right. Sure. Everything time is a flat circle, and I have no idea what energy management means.
It was wild.
I'll rap this song like this. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Well, let's make a plan to see Ron before November. I think that's doable. I would love to do that. This is the epilogue, I guess, but thank you to our Attention Different podcast listeners. This was Ron Capalbo or ADHD Coach Ron. And I don't know, man, I think it's pretty clear at this point. We love you. We're honored by you.
Sweet. Had a blast, guys. Thanks.
Reach out to Ron if you want more, and also like, follow, subscribe, Attention Different. We'll see you guys soon.
See y'all soon.